also the Congressional Budget Office Director under President George W. Bush. Nice to see you, sir.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so how bleak is this?
Well, this is a very, very big threat to the U.S. economy. The fiscal cliff itself is a combination of $400 billion in increased taxes, $200 billion in spending cuts. That combination, $600 billion, is about 4% of GDP, 4% of our national income. Since we're only growing at 2%, it doesn't take a genius to realize that if you drop that kind of a hit on it, the economy is going to go into a big recession.
So when do you predict it? Let's say that the tax cuts are not extended. When do you predict that we're going into this horrible recession, although many people think we're still in one?
Yeah, well, the concern is that we're growing at something like 1.5%, 2%, and investors are going to start looking at dividend taxes going from 15 to 45%. Businesses are looking at big increases in their taxes. The middle class is going to see their taxes go up with the alternative minimum tax, and not on December 31st will we hit this, but as the fall progresses, we'll see worse and worse economic performance, and we'll actually bear the brunt of the fiscal cliff in advance, and I worry about that a lot.
You know what disturbs me? We talk about it a lot on the show, is that for the life of me, I cannot understand, with all the seriousness of this happening, whether it's the debt ceilings also, we've got the problem of funding the government, that's coming up at the end of September, we've got the issue of extending the Bush tax cuts or not, we've got all the health care issues, is that Congress takes a recess in August, takes a month off, and they haven't been able to solve these. The super committee last year, they failed, and rather than stay and go back in and try to fix it, they just quit. It's beyond me. I don't get that Congress sees the seriousness of this.
In fact, the fiscal cliff is really the legacy of Congress not making permanent fixes to anything. So we didn't permanently fix the AMT, part of the fiscal cliff. The super committee fails. Fiscal cliff has spending cuts. So we don't figure out the tax code. We extend it year by year. Here comes another fiscal cliff. So this is about Congress finally doing its job. We need permanent reforms to the tax code, permanent reforms to the spending side, so that the budget actually adds up. And we're nowhere close right now.
But it was also another big thing that they neglected was Simpson-Bowles. I mean, a lot of people didn't like Simpson-Bowles, but at least it was a big step forward. A lot of people were unhappy, but at least it did address a lot of the problems, including the tax code.
Yeah, inside Simpson-Bowles was, I thought, the right political strategy, which is this is the only thing that got bipartisan support. It cut spending, it did tax reform, it did exactly the right things, and we just kicked it aside. The president showed no interest in it. And, if you look at our report, one of the things you see inside all of this bad stuff is the thing everyone claims we care the most about, small businesses and, the American entrepreneur, they get hammered by the fiscal cliff. The other people we're supposed to care about, the middle class and poor people, we raise their taxes, we cut their spending. It makes no sense.
Can we continue to do patchwork and just limp along? I mean, it always seems so ominous, but we've been patching it together for the last couple of years. Can we just continue to patch in forever?
We can't. If you look at the first decade of this century, what did we do? We didn't really fix our budget problems. They were predictable. Now the baby boom is retiring, and it's harder. And in the financial crisis, we got rid of our cushion. So we don't really have a lot of room to just kick it down casually. We're at the point where big changes have to happen, and happen fast.
Doug, thank you.
Thank you.
Now to President Obama's signature health care law, and we await its